Hey guys, how we doing today? Happy Friday. So we're gonna push a little farther now in that Adobe Illustrator app. So bear with me. The app is in the bottom right-hand corner right now. It looks like an orange outline and a brown box. So I'm gonna press that. These are my projects, and I posted a video already about how to get started. But just as a reminder, we press the plus in the orange circle at the bottom. We're gonna go to iPad landscape. All right, and if we haven't done this yet, we're going to set up a grid by using the wheel, the gear up in the upper right-hand corner, and we're going to add a grid that is a graph, not a perspective, but a graph. And that's way too complicated, so we're going to take our graph up to 100 points. So I'm just pressing the plus button at the bottom of the screen right now to make my graph bigger. I don't need all those squares. It's nice to have a grid on my paper. It helps me divide things. So 100-point grid, I'm going to click done. All right, now the next thing I want to show you is in the upper right-hand corner, there's three, looks like squares stacked up. And if you press that, this will bring out your layers, all right? And layers are incredibly, sorry, wrong button, incredibly powerful. So we want to do everything that we do, we want to do on a new layer. So on the right hand side, you'll see my draw layer and my background layer. And if I press the plus button, it gives me the option to add another layer. A draw layer is what we're going to be working with right now. If I added an image layer, it's going to allow me to take a photo or use a photo that's on my iPad, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to use a draw layer. If I actually press on the layer itself, I get another menu, and this is a really powerful menu. So in this layer, I can transform. I can take the layer that I'm currently on and merge it down to on top of the layer underneath it. I can duplicate it. There's a lot of things I can do. I can delete it, and I'm actually going to delete that one. So that's how we're going to start with a draw layer. And what I want to do is I want to draw a red vertical line right in the middle of my paper. So I've just zoomed in a little bit by pinching with my fingers. And over on the left side, these are my brushes. And if I press on a brush, I can select different brushes. And we can play with different ones. But for today, we're going to go with the top brush. And that is a basic round brush. And the way I got that to come up is I just press and hold on the brush, and it gives me a selection of these brushes. And we're going to use the top one, the basic round. Then I want to set up the side. So if I just tap on the brush, it gives me another menu. Right, if I hold on the sides with my finger, I can slide up or I can slide down. Why don't you get about an, let's call it an 8.0 brush, 8.0. Underneath that is opacity, and again, we can slide up or slide down. We're going to keep our opacity at 100%. And we want to make a red line. So underneath that is color. I'm going to press and hold on the color, and that gives me, or I'm sorry, I'm going to tap on the color. That gives me this color, this menu here. And you can go from picker to themes at the top. I think themes, for our sake, is really simple right now, so I'm just going to pick a red, okay? And underneath that, you can actually, you can play with your brush a little more, but right now I just have the roundness at 100%. I have the defaults on, essentially. So what I want to do is I want to draw a vertical line, but I want it to be perfect, and that line that I just drew was not perfect. So at the top of the screen, there's an arrow it's curved and it's pointing to the left. And if I press that, that's the undo button. So if I make a mistake and I'm like, oh no, that was terrible, I can press the arrow in the top of the screen that points to the left, and that'll undo my last action, okay? Another thing I could do is, if I made a terrible mistake, I could just take that layer and I could delete that layer and then create a new layer, right? So you're going to want to get used to doing everything on individual layers, separate layers, because then you won't mess up what you've done previous to that or prior to that, okay? So again, I want to make a perfectly straight up and down red line. In order to do that, at the top of my screen, there's a triangle with a circle around it. And if I press that, that brings up my shapes menu. And there's all kinds of different shapes here, but there's also a ruler. So if you look under lines and basic shapes, there's two parallel lines on a diagonal, and that's actually a ruler. So right now I'm using two fingers, and you could pinch or squeeze to make it narrower or smaller, and you can turn this ruler any way you want. And imagine it's just like a ruler at home on your desk. So now what I'm using is my finger, and I'm just going to draw on the ruler. And you can draw on the bottom of the ruler or the top. And when you press the X, it makes the ruler go away, but your lines are there. Now I'm going to undo these lines by pressing undo 2 times because I want my ruler to be perfectly up and down. So I'm going to turn my ruler until it's 90 degrees. And it kind of snapped there at 90 degrees. And I want to draw a line from the top of my paper to the bottom of my paper. And I've just divided my paper into 2 separate halves, 2 different halves with a red line. Why do I want to do that? Well, I'm going to make a symmetrical design. Symmetrical means that it's the same on the right as it is on the left. So let's go ahead. Let's make some designs now. So I'm going to make a new layer by pressing the plus button, draw layer, okay? And I'm going to change my color now. When we go to make our designs, let's design in black, okay? By the way, I can make my ruler disappear now if I want to, and not disappear forever, but just make it invisible by double tapping on that layer. So if I double tap on a layer, it makes it not visible, okay? It's still there, but it's not visible. So what I want to do right now is I want to create a shape, all right? And I'm going to go back up to my shapes menu, and I'm going to start with a circle. So there's my circle, and I can use my fingers to make my circle template. This is actually just a template. I can make it bigger or smaller, and I can stretch it with the arrows, okay? Now, again, it's a template, so I can take my finger and I can draw around it like that, all right? Another thing I can do is I can double tap in that template, and it automatically outlines for us. That's really convenient. Another thing I can do is I can tap and hold, and it will fill that shape in, and that's kind of cool also. So there's 3 different things you can do with a template. You can freehand around it with your finger. You can tap and hold. I'm sorry, I jumped to the 3rd one, and that'll fill it. Or you can double tap on it, and that will outline it. And we're going to do a lot of double tapping to outline. So I just created a circle, and I'm going to bring my my ruler back because I don't want this circle on both sides. I want to do everything on the right side of my paper right now. Everything's going to be on the right side. So I want to make sure that my circle is on the right side of that line. I'm going to go up to that circle, and I'm going to press that layer, and I'm going to hit transform. And this is really cool. I can now make my circle bigger, smaller, by using that blue box. And when I get it the way I want it, I just press done. Now, here's another thing that's really cool. I can take that layer and I can duplicate it. So now I have another circle. How do I know? Well, watch. If I press transform again, there's my second circle. And what's really nice is this layer, this circle is on its own layer. So I can make that one disappear, or I can make the one above it disappear. Okay? And again, I'm designing everything right now on the right side of my line. I just picked a square. What I didn't do, though, is I didn't make a new drawing layer. I want to make a new drawing layer for my square. And I'm going to double tap on it, and there's a square. And I can just keep adding shapes. There's a triangle. To this side, double tap on it. And eventually, what I'm going to do is this. And I'm just gonna fast forward ahead a little bit. If I go to my top layer and I click on it, I can merge that layer down to the layer underneath. And then I can merge that layer down to the layer underneath. And then I can merge that layer down to the layer underneath. Now, I don't want to merge it one more time because that's my red line. So now I have this shape here, and I can transform that whole shape. I can even rotate it if I want. So I'm going to rotate it a little bit, and I'm going to kind of line it up with my red line there. And when I'm done, like I said before, you just press done. Now, because this is a symmetrical design, watch this. I'm gonna click on that layer. I'm gonna duplicate it. And now I'm gonna click on that layer again and I'm gonna press transform. And at the bottom of your screen, you'll see it says flip horizontal, flip vertical, and fit to view. If I click flip horizontal, watch what happens. It just duplicated my design. I'm sorry, it just flipped my design horizontally. And if I were to line that up like a butterfly, think of it like a Mother Nature creates a butterfly, it's equal on both sides, and line it up, I now have a symmetrical design, all right? So that's a very simple one, and we'll go farther with this, but that's a good start.